Hello, everyone. It's Tracy. So today I wanted to talk about a subject I don't enjoy blabbering about or complaining about. I wanted to talk about how the disease that I have affects my life. Recently, I've really had some eye-opening understanding of my own disability, and I thought I'd pass it along. Now, I have a channel, I don't know if you call it a separate channel. It's more of a partition of my YouTube channel of Born Again Farm Girl, and it's something about multiple sclerosis or what have you. And there's no videos under it. And there's a really good reason why there's no videos under it. You see, when I was a little kid, I had a horrible childhood. And I mean horrible. The kind of childhood that makes people get on drugs, have a million children with a bunch of different men. Just basically everything that's on the YouTube channel, Soft White Underbelly. That's basically what it is. It was really that bad. So getting into why I bring this up is not because I like to complain, and it's not because I enjoy talking about what I suffer from. It's because I had a mother who suffered terribly from numerous mental disorders, all of which were documented, diagnosed, and heavily medicated. I don't fault my mother for her struggles. I do, however, fault her for giving into them as easily as she did. I'm not very sympathetic about that because she really leaned hard on me, and not in a way that some parents do. She wasn't, oh, by the way, if I'm looking for my glasses, they're on my head. So if you could just let me know in the chat, that'd be great. So it's not like she was physically abusive. She was actually emotionally abusive in a way that was very passive, but it really, really changed my entire future. I'm convinced of that. My mother would whine incessantly, complain with tears rolling down her face. She would constantly give me the problems that she was having at the moment. On any given day, she used me as what we would call today a soundboard. And that was very damaging to me. That I think that it really sculpted me to be rather harsh as a mother and insensitive toward my children. And that's something that I'm not at all pleased about. And since all of my children are adults now, I've since heard that this in fact was true, and I have apologized to those who still speak to me. You know who you are. Anyway, so how does that come down to today and about the talk I want to have about multiple sclerosis? Well, you see, I can't stand people who complain. I mean, it's a real aversion I have, to the point where I physically feel like I could get up and walk out of the room abruptly. If someone starts whining about their life, I just have to leave the room. I just don't get it. I don't get why people feel the need to have to complain to other people about their life and what they're going through. And we're not talking about sharing with a friend, okay? We're talking about every time you're with someone, the topic of your struggle starts the conversation pretty much all the time. And if not all the time, so much so that it just becomes a real drag on everybody else. I lived that firsthand. I lived what it felt like to be pulled down and drugged down. And it's very upsetting. It changes your outlook on life, your outlook on yourself, your outlook on people around you. Not just then, not for a short time. We're talking about a lifetime of damage from that kind of upbringing that I had. So I haven't talked about my disease because of my aversion to being a whiner or a complainer, feeling sorry for myself, all of that. I don't want any part of that type of persona that some people apparently have no problem with. They just complain like for a living on YouTube, and I've got no time for that. I mean, I'm not I don't have ill feelings to other people. I just don't see the point to it. It just doesn't solve anything. It doesn't it doesn't make anything better. If anything, it just depresses other people or make them feel bad for the life that they have or the health that they have. And I just never want to bring anybody down. So that's why I don't talk about my disease very much. I wanted to start out with that because I think it's important. So now, as I'm about to talk about it, you'll understand my point of view as to why I haven't in the past talked about it very much. But I think I'm going to start changing that. I think that it's important for me to share my experience with multiple sclerosis to others who have multiple sclerosis. And I think that I have been negligent in not sharing some of the things that have helped my multiple sclerosis and that the things that have had an adverse effect on my multiple sclerosis. And I think that needs to change. So I wanted to come on live and put this out there. This video will be available to others once I'm done here today, which is April 6th at 1:30 p.m. And if you're viewing this live, thank you for being here. But if you're looking at this later on, thank you also for being here. Now, as multiple sclerosis has been a part of my life for well over 25 years, I've lost an ability to have a good quality of cognition. Now, if you don't necessarily are up to speed with cognition, it basically means that learning new things, new tasks like that are extremely difficult for me. I can get very frustrated with my own lack of understanding of things. It's really interesting because there's a part of me that is still the know-it-all I always was, but my equipment is just broken and just won't accept what I'm putting in. So it does get very frustrating for me. But on the bright side, the majority of my multiple sclerosis is contained within my brain. There is some, I need that light from my other monitor, or else I'm going to go completely gray. I need that. I lost my place. I lost my mind. Slowly losing my mind. That's a blog name, by the way, that I have that I don't even share to, but I have it because it's mine. Anyway, not being able to learn new things is very frustrating to me, and if you're not careful, you can beat yourself up about it, and I do it. I do it a lot, to the point of actually just slamming my hands on the counter going, "What is going on, and why am I so dang stupid?" But then later on, I realize it's not me being stupid, it's just that my brain is damaged, and I just don't take in information as easily as someone who has a healthy brain. So that's not so hard. So once you get past the emotional part of being frustrated or depressed or just not happy about your situation, there's things you can do to help it, and I wanna share those things. And one of the things that I wanna share is that slow down videos. In YouTube, there's a little thing, a cog that you can slow the speed down a video. That has helped me in the past to be able to play it over and over again. So I'll be able to understand it and maybe be able to take it in a little easier. So that's one thing. Another thing is that, and this kind of carries over from my childhood, which is really unusual. We learn a lot about ourselves looking back in time. And that's ironic because no one's thinking about these things when they're happening, like 30 years ago. But now that we're 30 years beyond that point, I look back at my own childhood and go, aha, that's something that still carries true to today. So one of those things is that when I wrote things down in my notebook, I would get straight A's in a class. And it would really help me to learn. And for me, that was incredibly important. So that's something I look back at now, and it still helps me today, actually. If I write down everything I'm trying to remember, it just doesn't leave. It's in there for good. Unfortunately, that can be quite cumbersome because right now I'm trying to learn Photoshop. And that would mean I have to write down the entire, guide to Photoshop on paper for it to be stuck in my head. And it looks like I'm going to have to do that because it's not sticking any other way. Another way that has helped me with my multiple sclerosis and my severe cognitive disability is just giving myself a break and just letting my mind wander where it wanders. ADHD is something that runs in my children's family, but not in mine, and I never had it. But as a secondary symptom of my multiple sclerosis, my son Anthony has let me know that I probably do have it now. And I can see that now because I have the attention span of a tick. I'm just in, I'm out, and I'm gone. Or maybe that's a flea. I think it's a flea. Attention span of a flea. Yeah, I think that's better because a tick gets in there and it never leaves until it gets so plumb full. It just falls off. So that's disgusting. Let's just forget we brought up a tick. Okay. So, yes, it's difficult for me to remember things, but it can be overcome. And I want to help other people who might have multiple sclerosis to overcome and to be encouraged and to be happy, even though things are more difficult than they used to be. I often compare my multiple sclerosis with other people who have much more serious disability. Some people with multiple sclerosis, there's so many different levels or how do you put it, categories of this disease. Mine is so light compared to those who are suffering from paralysis and some who go from 0 to 60 in their disease progression within, a year, and they're past, they're gone. That's not mine. My multiple sclerosis is called relapsing remitting. And that kind of means what you think it is. It's going to go on again, off again, on again, off again. And that's me. And relapsing remitting multiple sclerosis these days are really greatly handled, much better medically than it ever was before. Multiple sclerosis now has therapies that didn't even exist when I knew I had multiple sclerosis when I was about 19. I knew I either had Parkinson's or I had multiple sclerosis. The internet's good for that. So I knew that I was disabled. I also had a dream of confirmation that I was disabled, but that it would not take my life. I told my second husband about that dream, and my third husband now told me that that probably freaked him out quite a bit when I had told him that. So sorry, Lou. Anyway, my multiple sclerosis is handled well now. It's not on the rage anymore like it was. I'm on medication, Tecfidera, and I'm doing fine on it. I wouldn't go anymore. I wouldn't go to another medication. I would just adjust my lifestyle if it ever flamed up again. Stress is a huge flame up for my multiple sclerosis. If I get worked up, I go downhill fast. So I need to avoid stress. And my farm is ideal for that. My animals are ideal for that. And so for the last almost 4 years living out on this farm, I found myself living a higher quality of life than I ever had before. So in that regard, I'm already helping my multiple sclerosis. Another way to help or cope with my multiple sclerosis that has helped is getting diagnosed with sleep apnea. I have to wear one of those things on my nose when I sleep. And once you get past the vanity of it, I mean, you get used to having it and using it. And it definitely has made me feel better. And that's important because if you feel better, you can do more. And sleeping is very important to our health. So you can imagine that having multiple sclerosis and sleep apnea on top of it, whether or not the MS caused the sleep apnea as a secondary symptom of multiple sclerosis, I don't know. The bottom line is that I have it. And by treating it, my neurologist has done me a great service. So I do my sleep therapy on my machine. I use a rest med machine. And it's vastly improved my quality of life. And I'm grateful for it. Okay, let's see. So it's very awkward when you're doing a live stream and no one's there. Guess they just have to have faith that you're going to come later. Okay, so multiple sclerosis primarily affects my cognition. And the majority of my severe disability is within my brain, both my right and my left brain. And there is some multiple sclerosis lesions in my pons, and that's technically the spinal cord area. But the disability where people have to be in wheelchairs and can't walk is usually from the is it thoracic or cervical spine is where the lesions cause the inability to walk. So I consider myself blessed, and I do believe that I have it much better than many other people. I don't have any allergies to treatments or any other allergies to speak of, so that has not been a problem for me. And so I count myself very blessed. One of the things that I also do to help maintain my quality of life and the way that I feel and my outlook on life is my faith in Jesus Christ. As some of you may know by my channel name, I'm not at all shy by saying I'm a born-again Christian. And I intend on going to that further with a video, because I just don't think people understand what it means to die to Christ and be born again. See how I did that there? I just kind of slipped my hand over there, clicked that space bar, got my light back. I also haven't lost my sense of humor. You got to laugh at this stuff. I'm kidding you not. If you don't laugh at your life and your experience and what you're going through, you will die inside. I know. I have suffered from depression. I had my second marriage fall apart. Not because I chose to do anything to hurt it, but because of my spouse. So I know depression. Oh, do I know depression? I've known it through my childhood, and I know it through my adult situations. But you got to press on. You just can't let it submerge you. Do whatever you have to do. Go to a doctor, get some medicine. Get your chemicals right in your brain. Well, that brings up another thing that has affected me through multiple sclerosis, and most people wouldn't think about this, but my nervous system is shot from the damage from multiple sclerosis. First off, this kind of damage won't happen to people usually if they were diagnosed today. And let's just say they're just newly diagnosed. They've been with the doctor while they're trying to figure out what's going on with them. And they're with care. They're seeing a neurologist. They're taking care of themselves and living a healthy life. So My case with multiple sclerosis is the worst case scenario because I was never treated. I was put off. This is back in, I guess, 2000. Gulliver, you're awful chipper in your coconut. So I was told that with the diagnostic criteria that was in the science community, it was necessary for me to have actually more lesions showing up on my CT scan or MRI than I had had. Mine were, I think I had 4 at the time when I first went to try to get some MRIs and CTs done. And although that technically is multiple lesions, hello, multiple scarring, multiple sclerosis, they said that's just not enough. You're going to need to get a 6-inch needle in your spinal cord, and we're going to have to suck out fluid from you. I had no trust in doctors as it is. I don't know why that is. I never was taken to the doctor very much as a child, so that might be why. But I wasn't having that. I said, no, the MRI should be fine. I have multiple lesions that you see. And this doctor, oh my gosh. If there was a time where I felt that I could go back in time and I could seek repercussions from this doctor, I would. And I realized that that wouldn't help me as much as I think it would. It would probably just stress me out. Anyway, he told me, well, there's one way around the spinal tap. And I was like, okay, well, that's the way we're going. So what is it? And he said, just wait 5 years and come back. Then there'll be more lesions and they'll have no choice but to diagnose you. That was his words. He said it to my face. My second husband was in the room, though he doesn't remember the conversation because he's got a terrible memory. But those words, you could have used a plasma welder and wrote those words into my brain, and they're there. And I never went back. The problem with me is that I'm extra stubborn, and I didn't go back not just 5 years, but I waited 9 years. I waited so long that my multiple sclerosis had gotten so advanced that I lost vision in my left eye, in the center part of my left eye. It's called optic neuritis. And for me, when that happened, I was actually excited. I was super happy when that happened because I knew that if I went now, they'd have no choice but to diagnose me. And I was actually relieved. Can you imagine being so mishandled in the medical world that going blind in one eye is exciting and brings the sentiment of joy into you? Isn't that bizarre? But it's true still today. I think back and it still brings joy to my heart. When I couldn't see out that left eye, I was like, it's here. I get to be able to be validated and not insinuated and told that I'm being overly emotional. That's a story for another video about what one of my other doctors that I'd gone to had actually said to me and wrote down in his notes, his legal notes, medical records of mine, saying that I needed another doctor, like a psychologist. I don't need a neurologist. And that doctor I'm talking about, it actually shared that with me. And I was just, wow, really stepped back by that. Nothing will chase you away from doctors than when doctors act like jerks. That's effective. So the optic neuritis got me in, and that's when it all started. So you won't ever probably get that far. You shouldn't. If you're the way the medical community is now, they're diagnosing much easier, much more simplified criteria for diagnosing people with multiple sclerosis. And they're really hammering it down. They're really going in really aggressively. with it now that they know what happens if they don't go in aggressively. I happen. I can see now out of my left eye, by the way. It's got a little damage. It's just a little off from my right eye, but nothing significant. I can't notice it every day unless I close my eye and try to look at the color red. It doesn't look as red as it does in the right eye. But other than that, I'm fine. That and not being able to think and being a space cadet and forgetting everything. But it is what it is. And negativity and depression is a far greater burden than I choose to lug around the rest of my life. So I hope that you found this live in this video informative. If you have multiple sclerosis, I encourage you right now, if you even have an inkling of thought that you do, I suggest that you go to a doctor and let them know, and they will diagnose you far easier than they did me. Keep in mind, this was like 1996 or 97 when I first presented to the second neurologist. So it had to be my first neurologist appointment was back when I had my first 3 kids. So that had to be about 2000. So we're talking 22 years ago, and they were not on their game, but they're on their game now. So don't be afraid if you think you may have multiple sclerosis. Just get into the doctor because they have pills now. And trust me, when I first got multiple sclerosis, I had to get a needle in my leg by my own hand, and I'm not the type of person that is okay with doing any kind of self-harm or tattoos of any sort. So you need to go. If you think and you suspect you may have multiple sclerosis, you need to go to the doctor as soon as possible and get it treated because you're going to be much better off than I am now than if you were to wait like I did. So don't wait. Just go get it done. I guess that's it. I've spoken my heart. I appreciate you all so much. I hope you all have an awesome day. Stay healthy and drink more water. We got to get off this whole drinking other stuff. We have to drink water. It's our body's fuel. The neurologist on YouTube always says a water challenge, water drinking challenge, or drinking water challenge, or something like that, hashtag water challenge. Well, drink it. You need it. It's the fuel to your body. And get rid of this alcohol and this fruit drinks and this soda pop. Just get rid of it. It's not doing anything but killing your kidneys and your liver. And just start treating your body with the respect and the love that it deserves. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll be back soon. Let me know if you like this video, and let me know if you'd like me to talk more about my multiple sclerosis and how you can help yourself be prevented and maybe even help you cope with your own disease progression. Okay, God bless. Have a great day.